Welcome you all. I'm Dr. Shivaji Bosley from myedunews.com. I welcome you all, every one of you. Today we have a very special discussion. We have a very special panel with us. Brigadier Dr. SB Bodhe sir will be there. Shubham Shrikhande will be there. And Sarvesh Navande will be there. Friends, I know there will be a lot of students who will be joining this entire panel discussion because we will be talking about one of the core interview which happens in India and is given by so many of students, and that is Service Selection Board of Defense Forces. And everyone knows that even if you clear UPSC, there is a very less chance of passing SSB. But is it really a myth or it's a reality? That is what we are going to ask from this panel. Let us ask each and every question about SSB. We have young chaps today who have just qualified SSB, Shubham and Sarvesh, who will answer most of questions based exactly what is happening at SSB centers today and how you should tackle because they are of your age. And Brigadier Sunil Bodhe sir, who is having a lot of experience in basically handling this SSB training. So he has already talked about it in so many shows. He's always guiding so many students. So he'll be giving us an overview about entire SSB curriculum, entire SSB approach, and everything he'll be just talking about. So I'll just introduce the panelists today. Today we have with us Brigadier Dr. Sunil Bodhe sir. I welcome you to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Just let me introduce. He is a postgraduate in Defense and Strategic Studies from Defense Service Staff College, Wellington. He has been a research scholar at Pune University and has done PhD in Defense Studies from Allahabad University. During his service, he has been a Black Cat Commando Instructor in National Security Guards. He has also been President, Service Selection Board. He is a qualified interviewing officer from Defense Institute of Psychological Research. Has research experience of mapping students' aptitude and counselling, which is going to be very important and essential for the aspirants. He is an expert in national security affairs and personality development. After his long service to the nation as a soldier, he is now focusing on nation building activities by training and motivating youth. He is running an institute, Brigadier Bodhe's Career Institute in Pune. So friends, I think we have a very well talented resource person today who is a part of the panel. Right. Let me introduce Shubham Shrikhande. He has been graduated in mechanical engineering from AISSMS College of Engineering from Pune. So basically he has done his graduation in mechanical engineering and he has done his 12th standard from Army Public School Pune. He got recommended for Indian Air Force Flying Branch from 5th AFSB Guwahati on 2nd July 2021. So he had just passed the SSB examination, and I'm very sure that he will be able to answer most of the questions which are there in the minds of the students. And of course, we have a very eminent person, Sarvesh. And let me tell you, he will answer most of the questions of most of the students because look at his introduction and then you will understand how important he is going to be in the entire discussion panel. So he was conference out for 8 times. Friends, he was out for 8 times over a period of 5 years. But he got recommended 4 times and cleared 4 medical tests in 3 months. So in last 3 months, he has qualified 4 SSBs. And he has already done his graduation in mathematics and he has done his PG diploma in disaster management and national security. I hope that the entire panel will be very useful to you all because this SSB, remember what is the today? The topic today is cracking the SSB code. So I'm calling it as a code because it is not exactly a code, but we are going to unveil what exactly this panel is going to talk about. They will give you all the tips which are required for you to qualify these particular examinations. So we are going to only focus on SSB. We are not going to focus on UPSC. We are not going to focus on written tests. But today, our focus will be entirely on SSB. So I welcome you all. Welcome you all, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yes, and friends, please do subscribe my Asia News, because we keep on bringing such type of shows for you all, because they are going to be for the students, and it is all the topics which we are taking at my Asia News are for the students, because they are our energy source, and therefore today we are going to start the discussion on SSB. So let me begin with Brigadier Bodhe sir, because I know that he has served the nation for more years. He is having a lot of experience, and he is also running an SSB center in Pune. So Bodhe sir, how will you how was your service entire duration of your service? How, what do you think must be there in an individual to be a part of the defense forces?
Okay, firstly, Dr. Shivaji, I thank you for speaking very high about me. I've put in 35 years of service, and
Right.
I got commissioned in 1983. Before that, just to give you a background, I'm a student from Sainik School, Satara. Thereafter, I joined National Defense Academy, and while in school, our aim was, join the NDA, or join police force, or join forest officer, or join as a home guard, but be in uniform. So that was the passion that was developed while I was in the school. And thereafter, I joined NDA and Indian Military Academy, and I was very good, especially in physical activities. And thereafter, I got commissioned to Jat Regiment, served for about 35 years. And most of my service, I have taken part in all the operations which
Right.
anyone can call, right from Operation Blue Star, Operation Rakshak to Operation Parakram and Operation Vijay. So I was lucky to be part of all the operations. And thereafter, when I was just coming to end of my service, I thought of getting selected for interviewing officers course, and thereafter I got qualified in that course. Mind you, it's a very tough course in which you are trained for 6 months, and thereafter
Right.
I was selected to be president of Services Selection Board. Yeah,
Correct.
as far as Services Selection Board is concerned, it is a very important entity for recruitment of officers of all Army, Navy, Air Force.
Right, sir.
As far as the SSB selection is concerned, there is no difference whether it is the Army cadet, Navy cadet, or Air Force cadet,
Correct.
because we want the person or the candidate to be a officer like material. He has to be officer in himself.
Right.
So there's no change as far as the Army, Navy, Air Force SSBs are concerned. And
Correct.
after my retirement, since I was in contact with a lot of students, I started my own institute in Pune, and
Right.
continuing with my activities.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. It was really proud of you that you have put down your 35 years of service in the armed forces. Shubham, uh,
Yes, sir.
what is your background and how did you thought of joining defense forces?
Sir, I belong from a Fauji background. My father has been serving in the Indian Army. He's serving as an officer, and he has completed almost 30 years of service. So I
Okay.
get a lot of inspiration and motivation from him.
Okay.
And other than that, I've also been self motivated because from early days, from childhood, I've seen NDA passing out parades, and
Right.
I've been to various defense establishments. So that
Okay.
gave me a lot of motivation. And I've seen the Fauji life from a dependent's point of view, and it was always very fascinating for me to see it from a Fauji's point of view by becoming a Fauji myself. So that really gave me the drive and motivation
Shubham,
to appear.
just a out of box question. Didn't you become sick
Sir,
of the entire lifestyle?
no, sir.
Because your
No,
father
sir.
was
Actually,
because your father was also in defense and you also wanted to join in defense.
sir, no, sir. It was actually the complete opposite of that because I got
Exactly.
a lot of opportunities to do various things, adventure sports. I
Correct.
got all the facilities for overall development which an individual needs. I had all the sports facilities, so I will be forever grateful for all this because it helped me a lot for my overall development.
Right, Shubham. Right. Did you thought of defense forces when you were doing graduation, or it was your passion since childhood?
Sir, it was my passion since childhood, and I have
Great.
seen many failures in life.
Okay.
I did not qualify my NDA exam, but I had that surety of mind that I want to join the defense forces anyhow, and I knew that I had a lot of opportunities after graduation. So
Great. Great, Shubham.
I just yes sir, I just remained focused, and I just grabbed whatever opportunities that life had for me.
Yes. Right. Right. I'll go to
Yes sir.
Sarvesh because he has seen a lot of failures, lot of success nowadays. Sarvesh, what is your background? How, from where do you come? What exactly was in your mind when you tried preparing for defense forces?
Right. Chigaji sir, thank you so much for having us on this platform. It's an honor. It's a pleasure to be here. So my
Yes.
background, telling you about my background, I come from a totally civilian background. My
Okay.
parents have been serving the state government of Maharashtra. As of now, my
Okay.
mother is district sports officer of Aurangabad district, and my
Great.
father just retired as a taluka sports officer from Ahmednagar district. Other
Okay.
than that, my brother also civilian background. He's in London. He's pursuing his PhD, and he's
Wow.
working there
Great.
as well.
Great. Great.
Initially, sir, it was since my parents telling you about their background. So earlier, my goal was simple that I want to join the civil services. Considering their state government background, my goal was to join the central government as an IS officer. So
Hmm.
initially, that was my goal and aim. But sir, in 12th grade, when I was in 12th grade, in my second semester, so my uncle, CK Anil uncle, he's a senior IS officer. So he had come home one day and he's been a father figure to us. So one day
Okay.
he just told me about the NDA notification which had come out. So he told me that based on my personality, he told me that I should also try for defense services.
Okay.
And coincidence, a very good coincidence happened was later that month, there was NDA passing out parade in November 2000.
Just to interfere. What was that personality he
Yes, sir.
saw in you? What
So
was
I
that
was
personality?
Yes, sir. So I was very adventurous, quite
Okay.
outgoing, and
Okay.
I always tried to learn lots of things, always focused on developing myself as an all-rounder. Mostly
Great.
because I was very adventurous and outgoing, sir. That's why.
Okay. Right. You can continue. You were talking about something
Yes,
before
sir.
my question. Yes.
Yes, sir. So my mother, she got two passes for the passing out parade at NDA. It was
Great.
in November 2015. So I went there, sir, and that was the beginning of everything. I went
Great.
there, and the first thing I noticed was, sir, the number of basketball courts, the number of football
Wow.
courts,
Right.
and the atmosphere there, sir. Initially, before the parade, I saw lots of officers. I saw young officers, old officers, lots of families. Later, I saw the parade and I saw the spark in my mother's eyes. I realized that she would also want me to do something this big in my life. And later, I
Okay.
also saw the cadets celebrating, sir. So,
Okay.
by witnessing all this atmosphere, I had realized that this is something I really want in my life. Since childhood, I had been living alone lots of times since my parents were posted here and there. So,
Okay.
camaraderie and brotherhood was something very close to my heart. And I saw that in defense by witnessing this passing out parade. I saw them celebrating. So, I realized that the level of bonding here is really good. And once I was home, sir, I researched a lot about what all is in the academy, how one joins. So I realized that they focus a lot on personality development, on all-rounder development. I got to know that it is not just about studies, but extracurriculars, games, and sports. So that is something which I was really attracted to.
Correct.
That is how my journey began, sir. Later, I joined NCC, and
Right.
that's how I kept motivating myself to join the forces.
Right. Sarvesh, just one question from my side.
Yes, sir.
You watched India parades. You watched various defense background to get motivated yourself. But my question to you is, did you ever perceive that I really have in me? So like there is a question mark always put in defense students, those who are aspiring, that do you have it in you? So just by looking at these, do you think that you just got motivated, or it was really within you which made you, which gave you the motivation to join defense forces?
Right, right. Thank you, sir. Sir, after I watched the passing out parade, sir, I came back home. I researched everything there was about how I could join the National Defense Academy. So that is one of the happiest days of my life, because I still remember I cried that day, and I was
Okay.
really happy that I finally had something I really wanted to do in life. So I had
Okay.
fixed, it was as if, I don't know, I call it a calling, but that is when I realized that this is what I want to do in life. So, sir, at that point of time, I did not know whether I have it in me or not. All I knew is I am going to try for it, give my best. That is my job. So that's what I
Okay.
focus on.
Sarvesh, we have lots of questions for you in the
Sure.
entire session. But let me come back to Brigadier Bodhe, sir. Sir, what exactly is SSB? Can you just give an overview of the SSB?
Yeah. No, firstly, as far as SSB is concerned, whether you are NCC cadet, whether you are UPSC qualified cadet, or whatever way you have cleared the first hurdle for coming to SSB, SSB is like a main gate, because unless you have gone through the SSB, you cannot really become an officer. So at the
Right.
at the SSB, what we are doing is basically we are assessing your personality. Okay, so the whole this thing is for every job, there are certain requirements which are required to be fulfilled. So similarly for armed forces, like if you are suppose in a medical profession, your memory has to be very good. You have to do a lot of hard work. You have to remember a lot of things, names of medicines, names of diseases, so many complex things. So you have to have aptitude for that. Similarly, if you are becoming an engineer, you have to have an aptitude to be an engineer. That in the
Right.
smallest thing in your house also, your engineering mind will innovate something or do something. Okay. So similarly, when you are looking for armed forces as a career, first thing that we all are looking for is the passion or the
Correct.
aptitude. Okay. So I call it, being mad. Okay. So being mad is, military aptitude development. Okay, so
Great.
it has to be. So whatever aptitude is required for defense forces has to be developed by an individual. Okay, so now what is this? You said code, cracking code. So I'll just talk about the code. Okay, I'll just pick up
Okay.
the thread from where you left. So this code is every individual is a code,
Right.
and it is
Right.
who has to decode it.
Right.
Every
Exactly.
individual is a separate code, and he himself has to decode himself.
There is no
Okay.
code in SSB. Actually, code is there within you.
Yes, exactly. That is what I want
Right.
to highlight. Okay.
Correct.
So see,
Well said, sir.
Sarvesh took so much long time. He
Correct.
is a very special cadet for me, because when he
Yes.
could not clear his NDA SSB, he came to me. So I have seen him crying, literally crying. Okay.
Exactly, sir.
And thereafter, I told, we have been in touch for last 4 years, and finally, he's made all the corrections in himself. So therefore, now, as far as personality is concerned, when we are assessing personality, what is personality? Personality is actually, there are three facets of personality. The first thing is, your thinking, you know. Second is your feelings, and third is your behavior.
Correct.
So as far as human behavior is concerned, I can also say it has three dimensions. The first dimension is your thinking, second is feeling, and third one is your behavior. Okay, so that is how what will result. The result will be corresponding to all these three things: thinking, feelings, and behavior. So when we are assessing your personality, we are assessing
Right.
pattern of your thinking, your feeling, and your behavior.
Correct, sir.
Another code or another formula is, your immediate past behavior is indicator of your immediate future behavior. Okay, so like whatever your behavior pattern has been in last 4 to 5 years, whether it was your thinking, your feelings, or your behavior, will indicate your future behavior. So
Right.
what we are doing is, in the SSB, we are actually trying to decode your past behavior to see what would be your future behavior. So it
Correct,
is
sir.
like you yourself standing in front of mirror and seeing your own reflection. Okay,
Exactly.
so that is what we are doing now. As far as this thing is concerned, all the things, thinking, feeling, and behavior, again has got three different dimensions. When your thinking, feelings, and behavior manifests, in different qualities, what happens is, our behavior is at 3 levels again. One is at subconscious level, जिसको हम अंतर्मन भी बोलते हैं, अंतर्मन भी बोलते हैं. Then after second level is your conscious behavior. Okay.
Correct.
That is आप सोच समझ के जो भी कार्रवाई कर रहे हो वो कर रहे हो. That is your conscious behavior. And the third one is when you are in a group, your behavior further changes.
Right.
I'll just give a very small example. Suppose Shubham and Sarvesh are worst of the enemies. Okay, but they are staying together and they get into the army or in the air force. Okay.
Correct.
And they are in the same squadron. Okay. Now what happens? They actually, heart of heart, they hate each other. So at the subconscious level, there is a lot of malice.
Correct.
Now once they meet each other, what happens? They are conscious of other person's behavior.
Correct.
So when you are meeting, then कि अच्छा चलो यार सामने आ गया है, तो Sarvesh will say, "Hi Shubham, how are you?" Or Shubham will say, "Hi Sarvesh, how are you?" So now from subconscious, his behavior has transformed into a conscious level.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
And thereafter, if both of them are put in a group, and when they are behaving, then Sarvesh will say कि यार बाकियों का मुझको पता नहीं है, but I know Shubham, so whatever it is, I will help him. Or maybe I will push him. Now what has happened? Your behavior has further transformed while you are in a group. So now at all these 3 levels, we are assessing your behavior and we are assessing your same qualities. So for the subconscious behavior, the psychological tests are more directed towards your subconscious.
Yeah. What you are saying is right. I just wanted to add to this one particular question which is being talked about a lot. That one question is that you should have an officer-like quality. What does it exactly means?
Yeah. So I'll just finish these remaining 2 points. Okay, for subconscious behavior, it is the psychological tests which are more important. For the conscious behavior, it is the interviewing officers interview technique which is utilized, and for your group dynamics behavior, it is the GTO who is testing it. Now, as far as officer-like qualities are concerned, see, when we see officer-like qualities, if you go by the book, it is different, but if you go by every human being, it is different because every human being is unique. Okay, so first thing that is important is, as an officer, you are required to use your ideas, your practical experience, apply yourself, be your reasoning ability, your inquisitiveness, everything which is related to your thinking or your brain, caliber. Okay. So, yeah. Right. And thereafter, the second thing is, your ability to solve problems and also your ability to communicate your ideas and thoughts. So this is the first set of qualities which are basically related to your thinking or your brain. Okay.
Right.
So these are the first thing. मतलब कोई भी problem, if you get any problem, are you really tackling that problem or not? Okay. Are you creating options? Are you thinking, okay, what are the various means I can solve a problem? That is how you have to train your mind. So unless you've trained yourself thinking like this, it is very difficult. So first thing is your thinking.
Yes.
Second thing is thing is qualities of your heart. That is how caring you are. Your cooperation with a team. You are being helpful to the team, and also your sense of responsibility.
Right, sir. Right.
Yeah. Right. So this is the second thing. The third thing is for armed forces, what is important is your physical fitness, your physical stamina, your mental stamina. Thereafter, your determination and also your courage, your ability to take risk. Okay, because as an officer at every step you will be required to take risk. So these are the qualities related to your physical being, and thereafter is your leadership qualities, because you are being trained to lead the men in war, which is the toughest management or leadership quality which is required. So these are the basic qualities. You can say we can sum it up in qualities of head, qualities of heart, qualities of limbs, and leadership qualities. So these are the qualities that we are looking at in the SSB.
Okay, right. Sarvesh, I would like to ask you a question.
Yes, sir,
Sarvesh,
please.
am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, Sarvesh. Uh, you were not recommended in your previous attempts. What were your biggest mistakes, do you think? Were?
Right. Thank you, sir. Sir, initially, I believe in my initial attempt, I think I was not very much prepared. And after that, sir, I took a lot of coaching. I took guidance from Brigadier Bodhe, sir, as well, and a few officers as well.
Hmm.
So initially, I think it was lack of preparation. And later, sir, it so happened that I got desperate. So I lacked
Okay.
confidence, is what I believe. I
Hmm.
lacked confidence and I was desperate to join the defense forces, is my biggest mistake I felt. So
Okay.
that's because this desperation, sir, it affected my entire performance. So this was
Exactly.
my biggest mistake.
Sarvesh, you are telling something which is very important. I think I too have faced the same nausea during those days, because desperation will not be able to you will not be able to give your 100% for that particular task. So desperation sometimes we have to control, because that can lead to some different goal setting, different criteria can come out during that particular time. Right, but
Yeah.
do you still feel that what exactly during SSB went wrong? I'm talking in terms of your screening test, I'm talking in terms of your psychological test, GTO. Where did exactly it went wrong?
Right, sir. Sir, I'd like to add a point to the previous question you asked. So lack of self confidence and self belief is correlated with desperation, sir. So
Correct.
I always had this fear that I might fail in the SSB whenever I went for the SSB. I always had a fear that if I do not clear the SSB or if I don't join the armed forces, I would do nothing good in life. This was the fear I had in mind.
Okay.
So this is something I had to overcome. At the same time, sir, it took me 8 conferences, 8 SSBs to realize this. My other mistake was I failed to identify this mistake, that I was desperate and
Oh,
I had lack
that
of
is
self-confidence.
that is very nice of you.
Yes,
Right.
sir. So I failed to identify this specific mistake.
You didn't
And
realize
later,
that this is my drawback.
I'm sorry, sir.
You didn't realize that this is your drawback.
I did not realize this aspect, sir. I was blaming my failure on lots of things like screening. I'm sorry, a psychology test went wrong. Or in
Correct.
GTO, I did not contribute in the group discussion. Or in the interview, I
Okay.
could not answer 5 general knowledge questions. So I used to
Hmm.
blame my failure on these little aspects. But these are not the aspects which I believe may lead to rejection. So
Very
later, sir, I focused on why is all this happening? Why
okay.
am I making these mistakes? So I focused on finding out the root cause of everything, and the root cause was desperation.
You did
And
it
that I
yourself. You did it yourself, or some mentoring was done to you, or you met someone and who started telling you all about your drawbacks, or you just realized it yourself.
I did not realize it myself, sir. I took a lot of guidance. Brigadier Bodhe, sir, has been with me since 2016, and till date, he's
Okay.
been my mentor. So
Right.
5 years, he's seen me from the Sarvesh I was to what I am today. The transformation, he's seen everything. So you can tell the
Yeah.
kind of
So
transformation
I'll
I have
just I'll
saw
just
here.
like to add. I'll just like to add. See, now is July. He started getting selected from the month of March.
Okay.
In February, I told him, "Ki Sarvesh, as far as I am concerned, nothing can be done about you. You just go fearlessly. Take I
Correct.
have done enough coaching. Now, either you get selected or you don't get selected. You go with the mindset, yeah, jo hogi dekhi jayegi. ठीक है
Okay.
ना? See, when a pilot is going to sit in the cockpit and he's going to fly, what is playing on his mind? Or when you are going in a battlefield or you are going in an encounter, what is playing on your mind? You don't know the outcome.
Correct.
And one of the worst thing is fear of failure.
Right.
Fear of failure, 95%, if you have fear of failure, you'll fail. So I
Correct.
told him
Correct.
to bindast hoke ja, because as a Fauji, na, when you have a passion to go to armed forces, you have to get over these things. यार पता नहीं क्या होगा, पता नहीं क्या
Hmm.
होगा. Nothing like पता नहीं क्या होगा, जो होगा वो होगा, देखी
Hoga.
जाएगी. So
Correct, sir.
that should be your attitude,
Correct.
daredevil attitude. So once I told him, "Ki Sarvesh, you go." In fact, I used very harsh words ठीक है ना? ठीक है ना? So he realized कि अभी मुझको कुछ नहीं. I also have to be very frank, and I said, you have got everything now, because I've seen him getting over all his minor things, and improving himself over time, over this thing. I'll just add here, I had a student who came for SSB for 17th time,
Oh,
17.
okay,
And as an interviewing officer, I had selected him. Those psychologists and GTO did not select him, or put a tick for him. But I
okay,
said, and he joined civil services, by the way. But he
correct,
made use of the SSB to improve himself
correct,
during
exactly,
SSB. So Sarvesh has also done very well.
right,
Yeah,
right. Shubham, I'll just
Yes, sir.
a simple question to you. Most of the students are
Sure.
afraid of screening test. You know that screening
Yes,
test
sir.
basically involves intelligence test, PP, and DT. So what
Yes, sir.
I will not ask you what went wrong, but I will ask you what went right for you.
Sir, regarding screening, sir, everything is in our hands because there is a simple aptitude test which one can practice at home. So it is not
Right.
a very difficult level thing. It is easy to moderate level thing. Any graduate can easily solve if he has done the practice. And
Shubham, remember the result is only 3%, and you are saying it is one of the most easiest
sir,
to pass screening test. What
sir,
exactly is that?
because the PP and DT, it matters a lot how you perceive the picture. And also,
Right.
sir, I would like to add that Bodhe sir has helped us a lot in practicing PP and DT, and
Okay.
his guidance has helped me get screened in twice. And sir, the thing is that people don't understand that they need to be proactive in the discussion. When
Okay.
someone is laid
So,
back, when someone
Shubham,
is,
please explain what
sir,
exactly is meaning of proactive. Discussion tests are so horrible because so many students are shouting at the same time, and discussion
sir,
can become very chaotic. So, how did you
sir.
handle those situations?
Sir, being proactive, sir, it basically means adding logical points, understanding when to speak, what to speak, and how many times to speak, and just speaking
Okay.
sense, just having common sense, and just telling your story, and also, sir, the narration part. It
Right.
is one of the most important things because in the narration part, there are the three assessors who are watching you. They first get to know your communication skills, your confidence, so many things they get to know as soon as you speak the first line of your story. So it has to be
Okay.
very smooth. So one has to keep revising his story in his head because sometimes people forget their stories, so they get stuck. So one has to keep revising the stories, and when the turn comes, they just have to narrate it very smoothly with confidence.
Shubham,
And regarding the discussion,
just tell me, Shubham,
yes, sir.
Shubham, just tell me, how did you prepare for this particular screening test?
Sir, Brigadier Bodhe, sir, he conducted a lot of classes and he gave a lot of emphasis on screening test. So he
Okay.
conducted a lot of PPDT. We had a real time discussions with, he used to give us a picture. We used to write stories. He used to make us narrate. So we have done this a lot of times, and it made us feel, doing. It made us feel natural while doing it. So all of it came naturally when I actually went for the test.
Okay.
So that helped me a
Among these
lot.
tests, among intelligence test, PP and DT. PP is, by the way, those who are new to this particular one, picture perception. PP is picture perception, and DT is discussion test. So, which test
Yes.
basically liked more or you enjoyed more?
Sir, I enjoyed the PPDT part more than OIR
Okay.
because,
Okay.
sir, there is a lot of activity going on and one has to
Hmm.
keep discussing, listening to others. So, sir, as you
Right.
earlier you asked me about the ruckus being created in a group discussion. So,
Right.
if everyone is speaking together all at once, so we can't just sit back and we can't say that everyone is speaking now. How will I speak? So
Exactly.
there your proactiveness will come into play. One has to. There are certain tricks that one can do. one can when he's giving his point, one can raise his voice slightly, not shout, but raise his voice, or just request, ki, gentlemen, just one point I need to say. Or if
Right.
your story is not being accepted by others, there is no harm in accepting other people's story and adding points to that. So
Right. Right. Exactly.
that way one can get screened in, and it is not actually difficult.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
I'll
Right.
just add a small thing.
Yes, sir.
See, as far as practicing is concerned, now communication skills is very important. Now, a lot of times people ask you if I'm not able to speak English. Now, see, unfortunately, or whatever is the, you have to be practical. English is the medium of our education and everything.
Correct.
So therefore, what we expect as assessors, that you if you've studied for more than 2 years in English medium, at your higher secondary level or your college graduation level, you should be able to communicate your ideas in simple words. Okay,
Correct.
we don't expect you to be very very good in English, but we
Yeah.
expect, yes, so we all know it is a foreign language. So
Correct.
when I say ki I make these people do a lot of practice, practice is basically narration. Narration is very important. If you are able to fluently narrate your story, which is just 1 minute, okay. So unless you have trained yourself, unless you have practiced, you will not be able to narrate it properly. And
Exactly.
that 1 minute that you get is your minute. It is
Hmm.
your minute. There is no
Correct, sir.
interference. So therefore, if you are able to do that in simple English, okay, you will be through. I must tell everybody that when we do the screening in, we give maximum advantage to the student.
Correct.
Okay, because we want maximum students to get screened in, but there are some students who have a blackout because they have not practiced. Some
Right.
students who get stuck while narrating the story because they have not improved on their communication skill. I just want to tell people here, English is a big barrier for every one of us.
Correct.
Okay, so I want to suggest to everybody, take 4 to 6 months and crack this English thing once in lifetime, and thereafter
Correct.
English is no problem for you. So when
Correct.
you're preparing for SSB or you are aspiring to be an officer, please ensure that you put in effort to improve your English. And
Correct.
it is second thing, it is also related to your caliber. If you
Correct.
want to become officer, we expect a candidate to have a caliber to read and write and talk in any language if he studies that language for 2 years.
Correct,
Because
sir.
when you become officer, you are required to go for foreign languages courses also. So it is not only English, but your ability to learn any language after you have been taught, or you have studied that language for 1 to 2 years.
Correct. Correct. You are right,
So,
sir.
yeah, so please don't have this barrier. Give 3 to 4
Exactly, sir.
months
So
for
many
English,
students have
dedicated
that
English.
barrier. So
Yes,
many
yes,
students have that barrier, but I think it's better to overcome those barriers because that is going to be part of the
yes,
entire SSB process.
yes, yes,
Sir,
yes.
one question from my side is how many assessees are there in the entire SSB?
How many
Different types of assessees are there,
SSCs? What
like
is
GTO interviewer. How many are there like this?
okay? So I'll tell you. See, now what is there? This services selection board. So every board has got its composition. We have around 35 to 40 boards all over the country for Army, Navy, Air Force all together.
Hmm.
Okay. It is around 25 to 27. Okay, to be exact. Now, what happens? Every board has got a president of the board who is either a major general or a brigadier or equivalent rank in the Navy and the Air Force. Now, in his board, now he is whole and sole in charge for selection of the candidates, of
Right.
those who are allotted to his board. Now, in the board, we have a panel of psychologists. Okay, there may be 4 to 5 psychologists. We have about 4 to 5 GTOs and two
Right.
to three interviewing officers. Okay, so this complete panel is a board. Okay,
Okay.
so this one SSB has got this complete panel.
Okay.
Okay, and the president is in charge of all the conduct of all the tests in his board, and he's an independent sort
Right.
of body, because once
Right.
he has, he is the one who signs on the marks and list, and thereafter it directly goes to the army headquarters. There is nobody else between him and the this thing. Matlab his signature or his selection is final. Nobody can question that.
Okay, right, sir,
Yeah.
right. Let me go to Sarvesh. Sarvesh, I think PIQ is very important in the entire SSB process. Let me tell us, how did you prepare your PIQ and what important things has to be included in PIQ?
Right, sir. So PIQ is a personal interviewing questionnaire. So
Right.
this particular form is given to the candidates after they're screened in. So
Correct.
this is our first impression of our first impression to the interviewing officer and the psychologist as well.
Okay,
So the interviewing officer, before conducting the interview, has our PIQ forms and our files, and also the psychologist has our PIQ form and our psychology tests.
okay,
So I think it is a very important thing to fill the PIQ in utmost precision and in detail and
Right.
in a good way. So it is
Right.
basically just about a background about us, starting from our name, father's name, and where we come from, our addresses, uh, parents' occupation, siblings' occupation, our education background, NCC background, if any,
Correct.
sports and games, if played any, and hobbies and interests, extracurricular
Okay.
activities, if any. It also has a column for roles and responsibilities held so far. And in the end, there's a column for previous SSB attempts, if any.
Okay, okay,
So for this, yes, sir. So for this, what I did was I analyzed my previous years since schooling, since 8th grade onwards, of all the extracurricular activities I've taken part in, all the games and sports I have excelled in, all the so adventure sports I've taken part in. So I made a list of all these. At the same time, in NCC, all the responsibilities I held. So
okay,
I wrote a short biodata of myself, an autobiography of myself in short, and I put it on the PIQ. I practiced writing my PIQ form before I went for the SSBs. Also, sir, since I had so many attempts, so I had to put a lot of SSB details in the end of the PIQ. So I used to carry a copy of my PIQ to the SSB
okay.
so that I would not have to recollect all the details
No,
and
no.
that.
My question is,
Sir,
did you did you improve PIQ or it was same for all the times?
I
Did you
actually
improve
improved.
PIQ?
Yes, sir.
Where were the improvements? What were the drawbacks in initial PIQs?
So initially, on the first page, they were basic details like education and parents, qualification, occupation, all that. On the
That will not
second
change.
page, yes, that won't change. So on the
Right.
second page, games, sports, extracurriculars. So
Hmm.
all those are initially I used to write a lot of details, lot of things which I did in my 8th grade, 7th grade. So
Okay.
later
That is not
on, I
required.
thought that I'm sorry, sir.
That is not required.
So I think what is required is a few years down the line, which you've done from present. Like
Okay.
Brigadier Bodhe has told us, 2 years what you've done, your past and immediate future will
Right.
help assess them about your personality. So
Okay.
I focused only on 5 years before from now, all the activities which I did 5 years from now before. So I used to mention only those. And I then started mentioning only those in which I have actually performed well or have any outstanding achievements, if any.
Hmm.
So like this, sir, I made my PIQ very short and crisp and to the
Okay.
point.
Right, right. It is said that the questions in interview are basically based on PIQ. Did you really observe that? It is just a saying.
It is definitely like that, sir.
Okay,
Because,
okay.
like I said, sir, the first impression to the interviewing officer is through your
So
PIQ
it means
form.
that PIQ is very, very important for a candidate.
Yes, sir. Very important.
Yes. Shubham?
I'll just add one thing. Just
Yes,
add
sir.
one thing.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
See, everybody must remember the PIQ is a very important document,
Right.
and the psychologist gets your PIQ and your dossier of your tests. He does
Correct.
not see you till the conference.
Right. Exactly.
ठीक है ना? So PIQ is a very important document. And secondly, as far as the interviewing officer is concerned, PIQ, when I get the PIQ, I read the PIQ and I make my plan. Okay, for the
Okay.
interview, okay, as to how I am going to design my interview for this particular candidate. Like if Sarvesh
Okay.
is coming after 8 attempts, Okay. So
Correct.
there is no point in, starting with the same question for him and for a fresher.
Correct.
ठीक है ना?
Correct.
So
Correct.
it is a very important document. And handwriting, again, secondly,
Hmm.
handwriting is a very important aspect of your
Correct.
personality.
Most of the students
Okay,
are not
because
taking care of it.
yeah, two aspects. First is the interviewing officer, because he's seeing so many PIQs. At times we are interviewing 7 to 8 or 8 to 10 students in a day. So the seeing PIQ is a sort of first impression to us about the candidate. And secondly, as far as the psychologist is concerned, if your handwriting is not good, he cannot seek clarification, and he has
Correct.
to psychologist has a very difficult task on his hand, because once he starts checking your dossier, he has to establish pattern of your thinking, feeling, and behavior.
Exactly.
Okay. So
Exactly.
he cannot leave your dossier halfway once he opens your dossier. So therefore,
Right.
if your handwriting is not good, it is humanly impossible to make out what you have written or to
What
assess
you're
you.
exactly writing.
Yeah. So please again
Exactly.
take 3 to 4 months
Exactly.
and go back to your nets and
Exactly.
write properly.
You have to
Yeah.
work hard on these issues which
Yes. Yes.
Brigadier Bodhe is saying. They are
Yeah.
very important and essential for essential. Shubham,
Yes,
you
sir.
know that one of the toughest part of the entire SSB is psychological test. How did
Yes,
you
sir.
prepare for psychological test?
Sir, for psychological test, sir, I've given one SSB attempt before this. So this was my second SSB
Okay.
attempt. So in my
Okay.
first SSB attempt, I focused too much on writing, including my officer-like qualities in my stories, and
Okay.
just highlighting my 15 officer-like qualities. But in my
Hmm.
second attempt, I decided to keep it simple and just
Oh,
write mature stories, mature, practical, and just whenever I used to see a picture, I used to first assign my hero. I used to decide who my hero is.
do you want to
Then
say that they were a little bit unrealistic initially?
yes, sir, because my approach was that way, because I just
Okay.
wanted to show my officer like quality. So it happened to be like it resulted in an impractical stories.
Right.
So in my second attempt, I just decided to keep it simple and write mature, constructive stories. And at home, I used to write stories to increase my writing speed, because we have to write stories as well as words and SRTs in stipulated time. So I used to practice writing and improve my speed. And also, just whenever we look at a picture, I think we should assign a hero who our hero is, and
Okay.
we should focus more on the action that he does rather than describing the picture itself.
Oh,
So
right. That is correct.
in my earlier attempt, this was one of my biggest mistake, that I just used to describe the picture, that okay, this is happening. But
Okay.
in my this recent attempt, what I did was I focused on the actions that the my hero took in all the stories. And
Okay.
regarding that, sir, and also, sir, if a picture is negative,
Hmm.
one has to, I think one should perceive it as a negative picture. One should not run away from it. If it's a negative picture, one should
Exactly.
perceive it as a negative picture, and then make the hero do something to make it positive. The result should be positive. That is, the conclusion should be positive. So
Exactly,
I
Sarvesh.
focused on
Shubham, what you're saying is right.
yes, sir.
Right, right.
And
You can
sir,
speak.
regarding VAT, sir, that is the word association test, in which we have to write
Right.
60 words, and there are 15 seconds for each word, and the slide is playing in front of you. So, sir, in that also, I used this approach only. I just kept it simple, because if we write long sentences, we'll miss out on words.
Correct.
So the most important thing to keep in mind regarding VAT is writing observational sentences, and not preaching someone like he should be honest. Suppose word is honest, so he should be
Correct.
honest. One has to write observational sentences like an honest person never cheats, something like that.
Hmm.
So with this approach, I used to write good quality sentences. And regarding SRT,
Hmm.
uh, yes, Sarvesh.
Yes, yes.
No, no,
No, no.
please continue. I had
Continue.
a
Please
point on
continue.
PIQ. I'll complete it after you finish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sarvesh can tell
Uh,
afterwards. Right.
And sir, regarding sir SRT, one just has to the conscience of the candidate is being checked basically. Like if you're going for an exam and someone has
Correct.
met with an accident, so what is more important to you, an injured person who's profusely bleeding or your examination? So it is basically, you don't have to be selfish. You have to have a good conscience, and you have to
Right.
help as many people as you can, and also use resources. And one has to be fast
Correct.
in writing SRTs because stipulated time is there. And regarding self description, as Bodhi sir said that the candidate he's the code himself. So it is all about knowing about yourself, your family, what your family thinks about you, and self introspection basically. That what your friends think about you, what you think
Correct.
about yourself, what you want to become. So this you can prepare at home so that you are clear in your head what you want to write, and then you can write it in the stipulated time that is there. So that was my approach for psychological
Shubham,
test.
very rightly said. You have actually covered TAT, WAT, SRT, and self description as
Yes,
well.
sir.
You have completely given the
Yes.
picture of psychological test. Sarvesh, you want to add?
Yes.
I'm sorry for the interruption, Shubham. Sir,
Yeah.
the question you'd asked on PIQ, so I'd just like to tell you, sir, whenever I used to write my PIQ form, I always got it assessed from Brigadier Bodhe, sir. So he
Okay.
used to tell me what changes to make. Earlier, I used to write 5 to 6 hobbies, which I did not usually practice every day. So he
Okay.
ensured that I understood that factor. So I think it
Correct.
is very important that we get our PIQs also assessed
Right.
from somebody. So that is a point I wanted to mention, sir.
Right. Right. I just wanted to ask one more question is how important is.
Dr. Shivaji, I'll just
Yes,
small
sir.
thing on the psychological test. Yeah,
Okay.
so but this just for information of everybody. See, giving the test is only a medium or a mechanism to express your thoughts or feelings. So what is
Right.
important is to look into yourself and change your outlook, change your
Okay.
behavior. ठीक है ना? Once
Okay.
you change your outlook, change your behavior, it will automatically get reflected in your responses. Okay,
Okay.
so it is not only matter of practicing for the test, it is matter of bringing change in yourself.
Hmm. Right,
Unless
sir.
you, because the crux of everything is thinking. Okay,
Right.
which are matlab, if your thoughts change, your behavior will change. जैसे
Right.
विचार बदला आचार बदलतील.
Correct.
मतलब
Correct. Correct.
so therefore please psychological test, don't think it is only practicing writing test. No,
Correct.
it's changing your outlook, changing your thinking about various things in life.
Sir, there
Okay.
is, sir, in entire psychological test, there are negative words, there are negative pictures, there are negative reactions. So, how to handle these basically?
Okay. See, negative pictures or negative responses, vagara, everything will be there. See, in our life, what are we when the situation is favorable, there is generally no problem. The problem is
Correct.
only when the situation is unfavorable
Right.
or situation is negative. Like you are
Correct.
in the battlefield, you are cornered from all the sides. So one way is to give up and just start crying or surrender. And but no, I have to fight back. There, even if there are 5% chances of survival, after all, we are
Correct.
all depending on hope. So from that negative narrative, how can you convert it into positive? Again, and
Right.
the best person to know is Sarvesh. He has gone through it so many times, and that is how that hope. If he had given up, say after 5 chances, probably he wouldn't have been here today.
Right. Right.
So hope is the thing. So that is why we
Correct.
all say why should all stories end positively? Because after all, life is you want to convert life into positivity and
So
happiness.
you are saying that all stories must not end with positivity?
No, I said the otherwise. I said
Okay.
it should have a positive opening at least. It should
Okay.
have a ray of hope. ठीक है ना?
Right.
It should not be going, okay, then if nothing happens, what will happen? Okay, I will give up. Don't give up. ठीक है ना?
Right.
तो
Right. Right.
giving up is
Right.
negativity adding to negativity. So you have to move from negativity to positivity.
Correct. Correct. So,
Yeah.
Sarvesh, one question for you is, what kind of responses do you consider as the best response in psychological tests?
So the most natural response, your response, I think is the
Exactly,
best
exactly.
response, because I think that is the best way to showcase your best qualities, and that is the
Right,
best way for the assessors to easily understand what you are, who you are, and judge
right,
your person.
right. Sarvesh, what you're saying is exactly very true, very right. Shubham, how critical it is to give
Sure.
unrealistic responses, because you have already experienced that there are
Sure.
sometimes students gives unrealistic responses. Do you think it is very critical?
Sir, it is critical. It doesn't go right for you if you give unrealistic responsibilities. One has to be very realistic because in defense forces, they need practical people who can apply logic and find out practical ways. So practicality
Correct.
is you should show practicality in every test. In fact, not just in psychology. So
Right, right, sir.
practicality and sticking to a logical response is will help you definitely.
Right. Bodhe sir, one
Yeah.
question for you is, how do you think, I know that coaching is indeed required, but how do you think self-preparation will help a student?
No, first thing I'll tell you, no amount of guidance or coaching can help
Exactly.
anybody.
Right,
Okay.
sir.
It is ultimately, if you are aspiring to be an officer, the officer has to be live wire. He has to be a self starter. It is he who has to have the drive, he who has to work. Okay, guidance is like spoon feeding. So, I tell all the students, ki, sorry, I'm not going to spoon feed you. Okay, because if you are aspiring to be an officer, you should develop yourself to face any challenge. Okay, so therefore, guidance, yes, guidance is required just because the way these SSB tests are to be attempted, and it is new to most of the students. So some guidance is required, but I always believe that long-term guidance is much better. Okay, that is the individual has to, if once he
Right,
decides, yes, I want to go for armed forces, work on yourself, work on yourself. Okay, so if you work on
right.
yourself, you will be able to be successful. Everybody knows what
Correct,
his
correct.
weaknesses are, but he doesn't want to work on it, and nobody can make him work on that unless he is wanting to work.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Correct. Sarvesh, let me come to a very important section of SSB, that is interview. And most of the students are having lot of nausea or fear about that particular interviews. So I would like to ask you, how was your interview? Were there any critical questions which were asked to you, or were they very straightforward, very simple? You already told that basically the questions were are based on PIQs, but still, were there any dogmas or some kind of googlies which were thrown at you during interviews?
Right. Thank you, sir. So I remember, sir, initially when I used to sit outside the interviewing room in the waiting hall, I used to be very scared, thinking of what is gonna happen, what am I gonna be asked about these things. So, sir, initially I used to be very scared. After, besides from the PIQ, there are a lot of questions asked. So,
Okay,
like Bodhe sir mentioned that after reading the PIQ form, the assessor knows how to conduct the interview. So they have a set pattern of how they want to conduct it. So
okay,
besides from the PIQ, they ask you about lots of things like why defense, what if not for defense, or daily schedule. So I think these are quite important questions asked.
hmm.
And Googly sir, I believe in my previous attempts, I was asked a lot about general knowledge or GK questions at times. So
Okay,
at that time, I used to not be able to answer and I used to get very scared. I used to panic.
hmm.
So
Correct, correct.
I think, and initially also, sir, when I was asked this question, what if not for defense?
Hmm.
This was the biggest googly, I think, because like I told you, sir, I was very desperate to join defense forces and I had not planned, or I had not given it a thought to the fact that what if not for defense? Like, sir,
Oh,
clearing SSB is okay, but medicals are very uncertain.
correct.
So one does not really know whether he or she is going to clear the medicals. So having a backup plan, I think, is the best thing. I mean, it is very important.
Right,
So
right.
I never had a backup plan. So that was a googly question for me, and I used to always get stuck on that question. So
Okay, okay.
eventually, sir, I started overcoming this desperation. I started becoming more confident. I started to
Okay.
realize that even if not for defense, I know I will make very good of my life. I started believing in that. I also had a
Good.
set backup plan. So that is how I tackled this googly as well. I had a
Well said.
fixed plan, sir.
Well said, Sarvesh.
Thank you.
Shubham, it is said that in
Sir,
interviews, your answers must match psychological tests and PIQs. Do you agree with this, or it is not like that? You can have your own choice of answers during interviews.
sir, if you're being honest in your psychological test, if you're writing what the truth is, so
Right.
automatically your answers will match.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
if one is honest, he need not to be worried about matching his answers with the psychological test.
Hmm.
So from the beginning, if one is honest, it will automatically happen.
Bodhe
So
sir, you would
I
like
think
to add
Yeah.
something?
Yeah. See, everybody must know this system is, we are all independent assessors. The
Correct.
interviewing officer, the psychologist, and the GTO. Okay, we only meet in the conference, and when your name is announced, that is the time we tell about our assessment. So,
Correct.
firstly, your one section or one module, that is GTO, has got nothing to do with the interviewing officers or the interview, and interview has got nothing to do with the psychological test. So here the underlying principle is what Shubham told, that be truthful, be practical. Be truthful, be
Exactly.
practical. we all
Exactly.
we all respect your knowledge. We all respect your practical approach. We all respect your mannerisms or your knowledge or whatever the way you are. We respect each student, so just be truthful. Okay.
Okay.
डोंट बी डेस्परेट कि नहीं नहीं मैं चाहे चाहे जैसा भी हूं लेकिन मेरे को सिलेक्ट होना चाहिए. ठीक
Correct.
है.
Correct. Correct.
या
Correct. Shubham, many students don't have
sir,
hobbies, but just for interviews they prepare or have some kind of, they try to prepare some kind of hobbies. Did it happen with you,
sir,
or this should not be the pattern of going for interviews?
sir. In my case, sir, I had a lot of hobbies. I've been a
Okay.
very outgoing person. I've been playing a lot of sports. I've been into fitness. So in my
Okay.
hobbies and interest section, I wrote all these things, and questions were asked on this. So
Okay.
if an individual he makes up his hobbies, he just fakes it and writes whatever he feels is right, then
Okay.
questions will be asked on his hobbies, and if he doesn't really do it, he will not be able to answer these questions. So uh, it will impact him. It will badly affect him.
Right.
So he'll get caught in
So
the
it's better
interview
to
if he
avoid.
lies.
It's better to avoid.
Better to avoid. And
If
everyone
someone is
is
not having
has played
hobbies,
some kind of sport,
if someone is not having
and
hobbies,
everyone.
can you frankly say that I don't have a hobby?
Sir, but I believe everyone has some kind of hobbies, be
You
it
have to
watching
find it out.
movies,
You have to
reading
find it
books,
out.
listening to music. One has to, because if every, I think everyone has some kind of hobbies. So
Okay.
there is always to write something.
Right. Bodhe sir, you would like to add to this because this is
yeah.
very critical.
Yeah, see, as far as hobby is concerned, any activity you do for recreation or for amusement or to develop knowledge in a particular field is a hobby. So generally, everybody has some hobby or the other, okay, which is very close to his heart, and he keeps giving some time to it. ठीक है ना? You cannot say कि I do not have any hobby or any liking for any particular activity. Okay, but if you have that, then just too bad. But having a hobby is a important facet of your personality. Okay, because then you are, investing your time, your energy into a particular activity which you like to do yourself. It may be cooking, it may be listening to music, it may be bathroom singing, it may be, singing or playing an instrument or photography, so many things. Okay, watching YouTube, okay,
Sir, one
playing.
question, one additional question to this.
Yeah,
There are many students who have hobbies but will not be able to answer questions if they are being asked by the interviewer. What about
yeah,
such students?
yeah. So now then what happens, that hobby or whatever, like I'll give you a very small example. A student comes to me, He says, "Ki, sir, my hobby is watching YouTube."
Okay.
Okay. So I say, "Okay, what do you watch in YouTube?" Then he says, "Ki, sir, anything I watch." Then I say, "Could be anything, matlab what? Yeah, there are so many things. What do you watch? You watch white, black, blue. What do you watch?" Okay. So then he's not able to answer. So now, his depth of knowledge, or his, he's just passing time, wasting time. Okay. He's like a pendulum under a clock. मतलब वो घूम तो रहा है, but he doesn't know कितने बजे हैं. So
Right, right.
he has no substance in himself. Okay. But he just, it is no hobby to watch YouTube. You say, okay, I like to watch political events, or I like to watch National Geographic, or something to do with adventure, or something, so that is what is hobby. Otherwise, it is just wasting time.
Correct. Right.
So his assessment will be corresponding to his activity or his
Correct.
response.
Right.
Yeah.
Sarvesh, most of the students who come out of the interview, those sitting outside keep asking, "What? तेरे को क्या पूछा? इसको क्या पूछा?" Do you think it helps really?
Sir, in this aspect, sir, I think it depends on what questions are being asked to the one who's come out of the interviewing room. So, because, for example, sir, in my case, I would like to mention that it so happened that we had a common interviewing officer. It was a small group of us in our GTO group. So I just asked what all was asked when it comes to current affairs or general knowledge. So my friend had told me that he was asked about the OBOR. So
Correct.
in our group itself, we discussed about OBOR. So in the interview, I had the same interviewing officer. I was asked the same question. So in that aspect, it helped me because 2 minutes straight, then I was able to speak on OBOR due to the discussion we had in our room. So I think in this aspect, it is okay to ask questions. But sir,
Okay.
when it comes to personal questions,
Okay.
like पापा के बारे में क्या पूछा या friends के बारे में क्या पूछा, your hobbies, interests के बारे में. So I think it is better to avoid targeting the personal questions when it comes to that candidate. But general questions which are being asked, like general knowledge or current affairs, these can be discussed in the group.
Correct.
That is what I mean.
Right. Shubham,
Sir.
I think everyone has pressure while going for interview. Did you had that kind of pressure, and how did you handle that pressure?
Sir, in my first attempt, I definitely had a lot of pressure, and
Okay.
that is why my interview did not go well. Because what happens is when one is when one is feeling pressurized, he will not be able to perform that well. He'll limit his own capabilities because under pressure, our brain doesn't think that smoothly. Answers don't come to our mind that quickly. So this time I decided that I'll just go and I'll just have a good conversation with the interviewing officer. I'll not think about whether I'm getting selected or not. I'll be rejected. I did not think about all that. I just thought of going in, having a good conversation with him, and I just focused on that. And when I was in my second attempt, also I was feeling a little bit afraid, but then I just took in a deep breath, and I was okay. I just entered the room with a positive mindset, and then eventually after a few questions, the interviewing officer he asked basic questions. At first, he gets the candidate very comfortable. So it happened with me, and I got comfortable, and I had a good interview the second time.
Shubham, in most of the interviews, let it be of SSB or anywhere else, most of the time what comes in mind is the fear of failure. The first thing which comes in the mind is fear of failure, and second thing comes in mind which keeps on rotating your mind is वो पास हो जाएगा, ये पास हो जाएगा, लेकिन मैं नहीं हूँगा. So did this such type of questions ever arise in your mind, or it is just those who are actually losers, it only comes to them? It only comes to them.
Sir, these questions I think they naturally come to our mind, but I think I taught myself how to avoid these questions, how not to think about it, and just focusing on my own task and what I am required to do.
Sarvesh, how did you avoid these questions? Yeah, Shubham, you can continue.
Sir, I just focused on what is being asked. I just answered in a short and crisp manner,
Okay.
and it just went well, sir. Yes.
So basically, you avoided the distractions which are there. So Sarvesh,
Yes,
how
sir.
did you handle these situations? Distractors, I can say.
Sir. So initially, sir, in my those 8 attempts, I used to be very scared of these
Right.
thoughts. कि अगर नहीं हुआ तो क्या? What am I going to do in life?
Right.
So
Exactly.
eventually, like I said, sir, I worked on my backup plan. I had a stable backup plan which I was very happy about. So eventually, this question,
No,
what
no,
if I
what was
don't
that
get
backup plan? This is always a big question. What
right,
was that backup plan which boosted you so much that you could qualify the SSB?
sir?
See,
So my
always for a
backup,
rocket there is a booster required.
right, sir. So apart from the defense services, my backup plan was to prepare for UPSC civil services and become an
Okay,
IS officer.
great. So you were confident in both places.
Yes, sir. So in
Right.
that way, I was able to not think कि if even if I was asked by the interviewing officer, what if not for defense, so I was comfortably able to tell this, and I also
Okay.
had a set plan of when am I going to start studying for the civil services and when will I qualify for the same. So
Right.
this question did not bother me a lot. And sir,
Right.
when it comes to कि हमारे ग्रुप में जो है he or she will get recommended or I will not get recommended. Sir, I think the most important factor also in SSB is it is not a competition between all the candidates there. So it is a competition of you with yourself. That is it, sir. So I
Right. Right.
never compared myself with the others who were performing there
Right.
and
Right.
never
Exactly.
thought otherwise. So
Correct.
I
Correct.
just focused on my performance and my efforts. That's all.
Shubham, we know that GTO is also one of the important part of the entire SSB process. Could you tell me your experience?
Sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, in GTO, sir, the main thing is to be proactive. They are checking how you work in a team, how you act in a group. So it is all how you act in a social circle. So you are given a few topics to discuss on. You don't have to arrive at any conclusion, and you just have, it could be any GK related topic, any socio-economic issue. So like corruption, terrorism, anything could be there. So you just have to give your own opinions, accept others' opinions. Or if you're disagreeing with someone's opinion, you have to give the logic behind why you are disagreeing, and also give logic why your point is correct. So and also there is the outdoor task, talking about the PGT, HGT, where the whole group, they have to bridge the gap between obstacles using a plank and a bully and a rope. So there, it is very important to show teamwork, work with the team, and whenever an idea comes which you think is workable, you have to say it out loud, even if you're yourself not able to do it because the helping materials, someone else has the helping materials. From behind, you can just keep on telling the group your ideas. So your idea matters a lot, and giving a helping hand obviously matters a lot. How you're working, because
Shubham,
the objective.
Shubham, one
Yes,
question
sir.
for you. Shubham, although it looks very simple, but all others are also competitors to you. They don't let you become
Sir.
leader. They during the entire
Sir.
process, I'm saying they don't let you become leader because they also want to become leader during the entire process.
Sir.
They don't want you to follow. They don't want you to follow.
Sir.
So these things, competition, pulling each other, will keep on happening into the entire GTO process. How did you handle these
So, so
situations?
this this happened with me this time, because as soon as the GTO said that start your obstacle, start bridging the gap.
Right.
So
Right.
everyone was so quick in picking the helping material that I couldn't pick anything. I didn't have anything in my hands. I didn't have the
Okay.
bully, nor the plank, nor the rope. So
Okay.
everyone just took it and they started doing their own thing. So what
Okay.
I did was I focused on what I could do. So I just gave ideas from behind, all the
Exactly.
workable
Very
ideas
rightly said,
that you
Shubham.
could. I told my teammates that you could do this, you could do that to bridge the gap. And then when they were finding that my ideas were workable, they automatically accepted it. And
Wow. Great.
when someone else's idea was workable, I just contributed in bridging the gap using their ideas. So
Exactly.
so the
I,
contribution
I'll just
is what
yeah,
matters a lot in GT.
I'll just make a this thing. When
Right.
you're in a group,
Sir.
it is always the logic which cannot be questioned. Okay,
Exactly,
so
sir.
logic. So if your logic is correct, everybody will start following you. Okay.
Exactly, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sir, exactly what are the objectives of GTO? Just tell an overview of the GTO because that is very
Yeah.
essential and important.
Yeah. So as far as GTO is concerned, see his main, the way he goes about testing you is he has got, a series of preliminary, series, and thereafter the confirmatory series. So in the preliminary series, what he is doing is basically trying to see what you are. Okay, क्या आपने क्या caliber है? So, in the group discussion, you have two topics. So he's seeing what ideas you are giving, how confident you are, whether you are able to, take all the leads and discuss all the leads or not. Okay, thereafter you go to group planning exercise. So again, here he's seeing your logic, your application of your ideas. Okay, whether they are practical or not. ठीक है ना? Being logical and practical is the key to GTO test. Okay, thereafter your individual and group obstacles, very important. Okay, individual obstacles are designed to see your body agility and your ability to go negotiate the obstacles. Then your group obstacles are designed to see your group activity, whether you are trying to show that you are very strong or you are trying to help others also and take your team together. Okay, so it is group dynamics. So when it is group dynamics, it is what will throw up is it will throw up your leadership qualities automatically when you are in a group. And the best thing is to be more practical and logical in your approach. Yeah.
Sir, is conclusion of the task important, or if even if the task is inconclusive, it is all right?
It is all right. It is all right.
Okay.
Everybody may not be able to complete the task. Like suppose I get a student who is very good. Okay, so I give him a difficult task. Okay,
Okay.
then I try to make it either more difficult or make it more simple. So it is
Hmm.
not necessary कि आपने complete किया ही है, ठीक है ना? So you may not be able to cross all the obstacles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shubham, was there any situation where you didn't conclude any task? If the task
Sir,
was
there was in
inconclusive?
fact, sir, there was this kind of a situation which happened. Sir, in the PGT, in which the task gets tougher and tougher as we there are basically four tasks, starting with the easiest and finishing with the hardest task. So the whole
Okay.
group has to work together and cover these obstacles. So as
Okay.
soon as we reached the fourth obstacle, it was so difficult. There were movable structures and all that we were applying all the ideas that were coming to our head, and we were just doing our best, but it just wasn't happening. So
Okay.
the GTO, he was satisfied. Although we couldn't complete the task, he seemed satisfied that okay, the group is working together, and he said, okay, I got your idea and you can go. So this
Right.
happened.
Right. Correct. I think I will ask now a few conclusive questions because I think I have covered most of the things except conference procedure, which I think Bodhe can explain what exactly is the conference procedure.
Okay. So besides these three techniques, that is the psychologist, GTO, and the interview. Okay, conference has got equal amount of marks as per each technique. Okay.
Okay.
So therefore, conference may what happens in the conference is, your name is called out by the technical officer there, and thereafter the assigned GTO, the psychologist, and the interviewing officer will announce their marks, which will be fed in the computer. Okay. And thereafter, we discuss that candidate. Okay, so how has he done? So if we find that, his performance is not good, say all three unanimously say, he is not acceptable. So he is immediately dropped. There is no discussion. Okay. If there is a candidate who has got lot of problem, taken, and even if one of the assessors says ki, no, he's got tendency to lie, he has got tendency to steal, okay, and he is not an honest boy. So if somebody has made that statement, or so and so has got suicidal tendencies, which are very very severe sort of personality kinks, and if that
Okay.
has come into notice in the psychology GT or the interview, and he has been marked accordingly on paper, his case is also not discussed. Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
yeah, thereafter, if there would be some student candidates who have been recommended by 2 but not recommended by 1. In that case, there is a discussion. In that case, there is a discussion. Everybody puts forward his points as to where he found lacking and what are the things where he is not acceptable to everybody. And if the one of the assessor feels okay, he is okay with others too. In my case, the point which I have identified is a trainable point. Like somebody is communication skill में कमजोर है, या तो his decision making is not very quick. So these are the things which come by practice or come by experience.
Okay.
So then if all the assessors, but the thing is, unless all 3 of them agree to recommend him,
right,
okay, the student cannot be recommended. Okay.
Right.
And
True, sir.
thereafter the marks for the conference are discussed. There may be even one student who has been cleared by 1, and the other 2 have said he is a borderline case. Okay. And if we find that his qualities which are there, which are trainable and he can be suitable, in that case also as an exception, it all depends on the discussion that goes on. Then we take a call and the decision is not taken there. Thereafter, the candidate is called inside, and thereafter he is interviewed again.
Okay,
in front of everybody. And
Right.
the questions are asked of the qualities where we want to carry out a checkup or
Right.
reaffirmation.
Very
And
true.
in case he does well in that interview and he is able to satisfy the officer or the assessor who has not recommended him, then we take a call.
Right.
So it's a very fair chance we.
Sir, one of the last question to you: why do you think most of the students fail?
Yes. Now, see, the problem is most of the students have a mindset कि they are going to assess my personality, तो मैं जैसा हूँ वैसा वो मेरे को select करे.
Okay.
ठीक है ना? Yeah. So no, you have to first work on yourself.
Correct,
You have to assess, carry out your introspection, identify what are my weak areas where I need to improve, and you have to improve yourself. You have to expose yourself to certain challenges. You have to work hard, and thereafter you will find you are selected. It is not कि अच्छा मैं NCC C certificate कर लिया तो now I am eligible for SSB, so I'll go for SSB. Technical entry. A student feels that I have scored more than 50% in mechanical engineering or civil engineering. I am eligible for SSB. He goes for SSB. So that way you cannot get selected. Okay, because you are going to face a lot of challenges, and unless you are prepared for the challenges. So I always say, if you want to join armed forces, please prepare for 1.5 to 2 years.
Right.
Okay. Prepare yourself. Jitna tayari karoge, and it will not go west.
Correct, sir.
Personality, own improvement will make you successful at least somewhere, but not making improvement will not take you anywhere.
Correct, sir. True, sir. These final words have really helped each and every one of us. And Brigadier Bodhe sir is already having an academy at Hadapsar in Pune. So those interested can really talk to him, discuss their problems, because he's really one of the best mentor ever present today in Pune, at least in Maharashtra. I wish best of luck for Shubham and Sarvesh. Those will be joining defense forces in few months maybe. And I wish Brigadier Bodhe sir also a healthy and prosperous life to all of you. Thank you very much for all the viewers. Please do subscribe Maha News, because we are going to organize such events more and more for the benefit of students. It is really going to help you a lot. And do subscribe this channel so that it will be very helpful to you. Jai Hind and good night. Thank you very much.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, sir.
Okay.